Hi everyone, welcome back to T's Theses and Happy New Year. I hope everybody out there is having a Happy New Year, and I also hope that everything that you are dreaming for comes into fruition for the year 2024. That is unless, of course, you are plotting some revenge against someone who has wronged you in the last year. And if that is the case, I suggest that you pick up a pen and a paper, a tablet, a laptop, or however you decide to get your thoughts down and plot out how you're planning this revenge. Add one or two minor characters, some dialogue, and about 80,000 words. That way, by the end of the year, you might end up with a book contract instead of a prison sentence. But anyways, moving on to today's video topic, I have for you guys Good Girls Don't Die by author Christina Henry. And I want to start off by saying that I love this book. And some of you may have already realized from all the books that I read last year, I only gave 2 of them 5 stars, and this is one of those. Interesting thing about this book, usually when I like a book, I like it and I don't really care what anybody else thinks. But for some reason, I decided to go on Goodreads and see what other people were thinking about it. But I think the reason why I did go look and see what other people were thinking about it is because I kind of could see why somebody would have a problem with it. And one of the things I found interesting was someone had given the book a 2-star rating, and the reason why that was is because they felt like the writing was kind of simple. And the reason why I thought that was kind of interesting is because sometimes don't you want your writing to be simple? Don't you want to just read a book and get through it and not have to stop like every 3 minutes to find out the definition of a word because the author is trying to show you how intelligent they can be? Sometimes you want simple. Sometimes you want to pick up a book and see that it's a thriller from page 1 and it's nonstop until the last page. And it's a book that you can finish in one day. It's not something that you're going to be spending weeks trying to get through. So the main reason why I enjoyed this book so much and I gave it 5 stars, if you are someone who is a horror or a mystery fan, and you're not just someone that likes reading horror and mystery, but you're someone who loves watching horror and mystery, and you're one of those kind of people who, when you watch a horror movie, you're kind of like yelling at the screen, right? You're somebody that like, girl, why did you go upstairs? You know, if you go upstairs, you're trapped. Or if you're somebody who, when the main character is running down the street and they are surrounded by woods and you're like, why are you running down the main street? If you run down the street, if you run down this highway, the killer's going to find you. Get off the road and get into the woods and find you some place to hide. If you're one of those people that thinks that if I was in this story or if I was in this movie, then I would survive, or I would be the person in the mystery novel who could figure out who the killer was, then this book is for you, because that is exactly what happens to the 3 women in this story. You have these 3 women, one by the name of Celia, the other one by Allie, and the other one named Maggie, who have been thrown into these simulated situations where their lives are basically in danger and they have to figure out what they're going to do to get out. So in the first scenario, we have a woman by the name of Celia, and Celia's kind of waking up from this fog, and she's been thrown into this situation where she's in this house and there's this 12-year-old girl who's calling her mom, and then this guy who's calling her his wife. And even though Celia cannot remember her past, she knows on some level that this is not her daughter and this is not her husband, but she figures that maybe she'll play along until she can figure out what the heck is going on. So at some point, some clues are thrown around and they lead her to believe that she owns this restaurant. And so Celia gets ready for the day, heads off to the restaurant, and she gets there and starts preparing things and going through the motions of a restaurant owner. And after being there for maybe a couple of hours, some old lady knocks at her back door, and Celia goes to talk to the woman, and the woman's yelling at her, accusing her of bringing rats into her backyard because of the dumpster out back. And Celia kind of remembers that there was this invoice on her desk when she got to work that day from an exterminator that states that there are no rats on the property. And so Celia's basically like, lady, go away. There are no rats here. I actually have proof back in my office. The woman gets upset, puts her finger in Celia's face. Celia swats it away, and now the woman is accusing her of assault. Unfortunately for Celia, the woman appears to have a nephew who works in the police department, and he shows up later during dinner service and shows Celia a picture of his aunt with a black eye that she says that Celia gave her. And so that's not even the interesting part of the story. Later on that night at the end of dinner service, when the restaurant has been shut down, Celia takes a bag of trash to the dumpster and finds the woman laying in the bottom of the dumpster with her throat slit. And so at first Celia's kind of like, oh my God, a dead body. But then she starts to think that I appear to be the only one that has beef with this woman. And even though I technically have an alibi because I've been at work all day, people might start to think that I had something to do with this. So maybe I need to try to figure out who the murderer is. And so then we move on to Allie. Allie is excited because this weekend she plans on going on a girl trip to the beach with her two best friends. Unfortunately, when the girls show up, they have brought their boyfriends along. And because Allie does not want to spend her birthday alone, she begrudgingly gives in. And so as they set off on their trip, one of the girls' boyfriends hands Allie and everybody else a mug with something to drink, and everybody takes a sip. But the next thing you know, they wake up and they're not at the beach. They are at this mysterious cabin in the middle of the woods. And of course, Allie is mad because this is not how she planned to spend her weekend. But what can she do? She didn't drive them there and she doesn't know where she is. And so she goes ahead and gives in and tries to make the best of the situation. However, while they are asleep that night, she starts to hear these scratching noises on the outside of the cabin. And when she wakes up and looks outside, they realize that someone is outside stalking them. And eventually, some people end up dead. And last but not least, we have Maggie. And just like the other women, Maggie has been drugged. But this time when Maggie awakens, she's in a container unit with 9 other women. And these women are taken from the container unit and told that they have to participate in a maze. And if you don't participate, you get eliminated. And not only will you get eliminated, but they have taken someone who is close to them, and that person will be eliminated as well. And unfortunately, it's not your simple maze. There are deadly traps laid out throughout the maze. There are hidden bombs in the ground. There are catapults. And so it is not meant for any of these women to survive. And so like I said, if you are someone who is a fan of horror, a fan of mystery, or even a fan of dystopia, something like The Maze Runner, then you will definitely be a fan of this book. And as I said, it is a quick read. It is a simple read. There is something happening in this book from page 1 all the way until the end. And there was even a point where I was scared. The story had so much build up and so much suspense that I was worried that the author was not going to do a good job at the ending. You know, sometimes the authors can take you there, but they can't keep you there. That, you know, the ending usually falls flat because they are not doing a good job. You know, because sometimes the authors, they have this great story and they build so much suspense, but they're not good at concluding the story. But in my opinion, I love the ending. I think that the author did an amazing job at summing everything up and putting everything where it should be. And like I said, I love this book and I highly suggest you pick up a copy. And if anybody has read this book, leave me your thoughts in the comments section. I would love to have a conversation. And so that's all I have for you guys today. And until next time, you guys take care, stay safe, and try to do something nice for a stranger so we can all do our part to make this world a better place, especially in 2024.